Hello YouTube fans, here again. And I thought about doing this one for some time. I've seen a lot of other YouTube channels, that being the Furses. I remember doing quite a few of these, and I remember saying it on one of Peter's News's updates. So I figure without ado, why not do it? Being this one being Jaws versus Jaws 2. That's right, Jaws 2. So I'm going to talk them through sort of like the verses of them both, doing the classic one by Steven Spielberg, and I'm also going to do Jaws 2 by another well-known director. Now, I do remember looking at this on one YouTube channel where one guy was basically sort of insulting number two, saying, well, Steven Spielberg did this and Steven Spielberg did that. And I've got to be open. And I've got to be honest, I felt that was unfair. I felt it was unfair because Jaws 1, yeah, it's a classic. It's the best out of them all. It's a very good film. And not only that, no one's ever going to go and touch the surface of Steven Spielberg's masterpiece. Nobody is. We all know that when Jaws 2 was going to be made, Steven Spielberg turned it down. I say it again. Steven Spielberg turned it down because it didn't want anything to do with sequels at the time, even though we could say Jurassic Park and all the others had its own film, even though they are sequels. But at the time, Steven Spielberg didn't want anything to do with the second one. But I want to do them both. Because I think it was unfair that they've done that because the director that did the second one wanted to make another sort of cheats and feats and monster film. And there's things I like more in the second one, but there's things I also like about the original one. Like, fuck it, I'll just say it. We also saw a biography that come out in the era called The Sark Is Not Working. Date biography. And as we all know, Jaws the original was sort of a sequel to a film I reviewed called Tool, based on a psychopathic truck driver. I'm not making it up. It's sort of a sequel to that. And originally, you didn't want to make a typical monster feature film, but he wanted to show the shark attacking people underwater, out of water, and so on a lot. But as you know, the history, when they did a biography called The Sark Is Not Working, it was a mechanical sark, and it was for therefore breaking down. It was forever breaking down. It was breaking down more times than soft Mick. So the bits underwater, as we all know, was real footage of a real sarks done by a true Australian couple who was filming a lot of sarks, whether it be tied to sarks, hammerheads, and was, as in the film, a take right sark. And I think it benefited the film that the scene where it gets a kid, which I thought was ballsy, which I do know originally there was footage of that, with a dummy kid. It's been shown on camera with the start biting into this dummy kid, but it was stabbed, it was deleted because at the time they felt the dummy kid didn't look like realistic. And I'm kind of happy it was disturbing enough. And I felt that when I first saw that, it was more frightening. The famous scene where it's dragging the woman about, the first death scene of the woman, the one that's swimming naked, is getting dragged about. And I saw the making of that, and I felt that made it more nerving. The less you saw of the shark, the more nerving it was. The first Jaws film, in my eyes, was more of an horror film. It was an horror film. It was more of an horror and an adventure. Why sides are taking on the sark. Let's talk about Jaws 2. The thing I like about more about that is they don't do that. Now, I do know originally we're going to use the same Muggle botanical sark what was used in the first one. But because of this, it was left in shitty weather, it was raining and whatever, it made it all rusty and it didn't work. So they made a new sark that worked from stats. And I like the fact that in this one you see the sark more, because the bit where you get this Spence, the sark's being dragged about and all that, we've been there in number one, so seeing more of the sark, we know now. We know it's a fucking sark. And I do like the fact that the sark gets burnt on one side of its face. So again, it's that horror element. And it don't fuck about in Jaws 2. The Jaws 2, I do know there was a lot of death scenes. You got the scene with the lads getting dragged, which I do believe they used a speedboat with a thing around his waist where they just dragged him across because the lad in real life couldn't know how to swim. What then did that good effect? The scene where he's getting dragged. I like the fact it gets a woman. You think the woman's going to get out of dodge and it eats her. Definitely doesn't fuck about. This is one thing where we'll offend the director. Now, yes, he's no Steven Spielberg, but this will make you laugh. There's a dud, I mean a fucking brilliant biography of Jaws 2, where the director was sat on a, I'm not making this shit up, he was on an horse rackle, the actual thing what you sit on when you're riding an horse. He was on an horse rackle with the fake sack being dragged around on a speedboat, and he's actually on a sauce fucking seat with a film camera like that, filming it. So you see the bits where the close up, where the starts attacking people here, there, everywhere. You see the bit. That's the actual director with a film camera on an horse's sackle riding a fucking sack. To look at it, it looks laughable. But the way he did that, the way he got them shots, I dilute him. And this director, as we know, was the same director what a couple of years later directed Santa Claus the movie. He went and done a lot of other big things. And this was done, he was taking on the boots, or so to say, the shoes of Steven Spielberg. You know what I mean? I know at the time he was going to do Jaws 2, Steven Spielberg, but he ended up doing Ghosts and Outings for the third time and other things. So there's two things I like. I like Jaws 2, the fact you see the sark more, but I also like the first one that the sark wasn't working as much as what it was in Jaws 2. But saying that, I think they did that horror element in number 1. And it was sort of like an horror adventure. I do like the fact that Jaws 2, they bring back voice side, or I do know originally they're going to make it more of a prequel. The scene where Finn is telling the story about all of them getting killed by Triceratops. But it was good to see him come back in Jaws 2. My only issue with Jaws 2 is you can see Roy Sider's art wasn't in it because he didn't want to do a second Jaws film. He did not want to be typecasted in Jaws films. That's why when he got to Jaws 3, he didn't do it. He didn't do it. He didn't do it in Jaws The Revenge, which I think is a piece of shit. He in that one, they sort of kill him off, to kill his character off, because in real life, Roy Sider didn't want to be typecasted. When Jaws 3 come out, he did Blue Thunder instead to get out of dodge of doing Jaws 3. And you can see in Jaws 2, his art's not in it. His art's not in it, but he still does a good performance. If you look proper, you can see his art wasn't in it. But he still does a good performance. I think Roy Sider's the highlight in 1 and in 2. The only issue is in Jaws 2, you don't get his mate in it. Richard Chambers, I think that's his name, right? Richard Tivers. We all know Richard Tivers, who did Toast and Toutings for the third time and all that. And I felt it's a shame that they didn't have Richard Tivers in it. I'd love to see him in it, see his adventures with Roy Sider, because I think they both made a damn good team. So the bit of me in the eyes, would have loved to see Richard Tivers in Jaws 2. Sad to say, it was never to be. But I do think Roy Sider does a good role. Now, in Jaws 2, a lot of people get pissed with the teenagers, the teeny poppers. They get pissed because Roy Sider's son, his character's son, is a little bit more older. Both of them, in all fairness, look at the century. The first one come out, what, 75? And the second one come out in 78. So to break it to people, but they're bound to be a lot more torn up. But I do like the characters when it's in 1 and 2. And to be fair, in Jaws 1, you very rarely saw the kids. In this, I felt they did the two lads more to do in Jaws 2. I felt they did them more to do, and they made them more of a character. And like I say, I like the fact that the Sark has a burn in it. I don't think the scene though with Roy Sider kills the Sark is as rememberable as what it is in 1. You know, the bit where he's got the shot done, the Sark's about to get him, he's got that thing stuck in his mouth, and he says that line, "Smile, you son of a bitch," and he bowls it up. I don't think it's as memorable as that, but I do like the scene where he's got the electric wire and he's bouncing it about, the Sark bites it, and he says, "Say ah," and it electrocutes it. I like that touch. I like the bit in Jaws 2 where it eats an aerotractor, which I do know there's a deleted scene there, but there's a lot more of it underwater and the sharks attacking the die in the aerotractor. So that's some good bits in Jaws 2. So, in a comparison, it's not a 8. I can't say Jaws 1 is better than the second one, but I can't say Jaws 2 is better than the first one. They're both good in their own rights. So that's me doing the verses. I'll probably do some more like that at another time. But until then, people, be smart, be safe. See you later.